Spark Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, Simona Spark, and our mission is to build a future where no one needs to come out anymore. Together, we can create a world where everyone has the right to love, to succeed, to have a family, and to live a full, happy life. Welcome back, everyone. I'm so excited to have you here today with our amazing guests, Nicole and Melody. And I will just start by acknowledging Nicole's fantastic lipstick.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. And I just want to let our audience know that this recording is happening while I'm in a lounge in the airport. So if any announcements are coming through while we're recording, we're just going to do our best to stay focused on our conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I want to thank you both for showing up here today, willing to share your personal experience of coming out. Because if your story inspire at least one person, then I call it a win.
Yeah, love it. I'm ready. Fantastic.
Okay, so let's start with Nicole.
Let's see. I was raised in a born-again Christian family where homosexuality was a sin and therefore not an option, not a reality. That makes sense in my mind. It wasn't a reality. So as I came to understand who I was, what I was it just wasn't in play. So all I could think was what I was a sin. So I had to resist it and pray about it. Like I just, ignored it. So that certainly fed emotional eating in my life. I was 320 pounds when I graduated high school. Just shielding myself from unwanted male attention while being told at home that was the attention that I should seek. And then, you won't get a husband if you're overweight. Guys don't like overweight women, my dad would say, with love in some weird way. He wasn't cruel about it, although that does sound cruel. He had my best interest at heart. So the underlying communication was, I'll just put on more of this weight
to protect myself.
Yeah, because I'm not looking for that exactly.
And how old were you when you realized that you were not what they expect you to be?
I started having realizations or, just like discoveries when I was in my mid-teens, so probably about 15, 16. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And then really around 18. And I think that escalated at that time because I moved out of my home. The day after I graduated high school, I left for an opportunity at the beach in Pacific Northwest in the kitchen at a retreat center. So without that noise and that container around me, it just all started coming out, if you will. And yet it took me years still to come out. I was still very frightened. Mm-hmm. And I finally came out at 22. Okay. And kept it from my mom and dad and brother and sister for a while. Lots of family members throughout my life had made comments to me. And my one uncle in particular, who's very close with me, he had said on and off from about 17 on, just here and there, nothing like that was like crazy and pressing, but he would just at opportune times say, no matter who you are, we love you. And your parents will always love you. Mm-hmm. And I would just be like, okay, and let's not even just talk about that. We're just going to continue forward. But,
do you think that they knew?
Yes, mm-hmm. I definitely think they knew because negative comments and things that would further let me know lesbians weren't acceptable. Dyke was used a lot in my household. Like I just don't, being disparaging toward that. So further letting me know, communicating I would be outside. And it, again, just making that unacceptable. Mm-hmm. And when I decided I had to tell my parents because I was living a kind of a dual life, and I am close with my family. I asked my dad to come and see me. I was living in Southern California, and they were still living in Northern California. My parents are still married, but I just wanted to tell my dad first because I didn't know how my mom would react. She's a very, head in the sand, and I didn't want to send her into a tizzy. Mm-hmm. And he came down. I looked at him, I told him, and he looked at me and he's like, it would have been easier if you told me you were pregnant.
Wow.
I still love you. And then he softened pretty immediately and he was like, I love you so much. I'll always love you. I'll always love you. And he said, I don't know what your mom's going to do. I said, I know. That's why I'm talking to you.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And he goes, I'm going to have to let you say it. And so he wouldn't help with that burden of telling. But to know that it wasn't immediate excommunication, that was something I hadn't expected.
Right.
And in my adult life, I've been told by my sister that he's told my sister that there was never something that made him question his faith other than that of, if it comes to, God, my faith, or my daughter, I'm going to go with my daughter.
Wow.
And that literally just in the last year was reported to me. Melody was there when she told me.
Wow. So how that conversation impact your relationship with your dad?
For me, with my father, it made me, in a weird way, bolder about, it was just like...
confident?
Not confidence, but bolder, like, if this is going to be, if we're towing a line here, and that's where it's going to end or be, I'll toe the line. You'll lose me. And I think that also was something that he knew. It was, you will take this, you will accept me, or else I will withdraw myself. And I'm sure that boldness was because I waited so long to tell them. By the time I was having that conversation, I'm 23, and I'd gone through a lot of ups and downs with my eating in that shield. They'd seen that I was troubled. I think that's another thing. I think it was a missing piece to my troubles. For his mind. It was like, oh.
Right. So looking back, do you think that if you will be raised into a more inclusive environment, all the troubles with eating would have not happened?
I do think that would have been a whole different story. Absolutely.
I really hope that you will say no, because that's my fear. Like, what do we do to our children when we let them believe that they're not allowed to be who they are? And then they find ways to protect themselves by hurting themselves in creative ways.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for sharing. As I might appear that I'm drilling into your soul, I really want to bring up to light those truths, those real concerns. They are happening and we are not talking about.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to hear.
Yeah. That's why I'm here. I completely support what you're doing. Like,
thank you so much.
Melody was fully a yes of, So drill into the soul. Like, I'm here. Let me be part of something. And I love what you said at the beginning. If one person is changed.
Yeah. We never touch just one person, even when we think that we touch one person.
That's exactly right.
I consider myself an excellent parent and having a great relationship with my child, but there is no doubt in my mind that he's going to be such a better parent than I am.
Yeah.
But it's about staying honest and recognize what is it that we know, what is it that we don't or understand or not. Like, I found out about myself when my son came out that I had created this story about him bringing home a girlfriend, and now I needed a minute to replace that girlfriend with a boyfriend. And I needed to be honest with myself first and share and speak up, because as a parent, as soon as my child come out of the closet, I got put in a closet, And
when we stay silent like that, we perpetuate it out on all levels.
Yeah.
And I love also what you said at the beginning, a world where we don't come out anymore.
Yeah, that is the mission. And I personally also believe that it's starting with the parents. Like, how do we parent from a place of inclusion? That we already seen that it's possible. Like the other week, our guest Sophie didn't need to come out. She just brought home a girlfriend. That was part of the norm in her family.
Incredible.
Yes, so it's possible. And talking about family and parents, how was your experience like coming out to your mom, Nicole?
And I just wanted to comment, and of course, if I may.
Absolutely, please.
Simona, this is going to be me. I just wanted to share because I was triggered by something, and it reflects on the pause. I need a minute because I had a story and of your for your son coming home with a girl, and now I have to switch that story. There's such a resistance in me because I was, this will come out more with my mom's story, that who I was, it's such a burden for the child to think that, and that's the whole coming out story, to think that who I am gives you grief. or gives you a need to adjust your expectations, what it communicates to me and communicated to me with my family is I failed. Disappointment. And that's hugely triggering just for how I'm the middle child. I was the golden child in so many ways.
Thank you so much for bringing this up, because that is the work. How do we let go of all these expectations and creating stories? I mean, as easy as what career my son is gonna choose.
Yes. It's not your fault. It's conditioning. The part of choosing what we're going to do for a career, we're conditioned. I imagine as parents, you're conditioned to allow that to be their choice. The other, it's because we're in a heteronormative society.
Right.
So by no means, and that's why I kind of gave the caveat, by no means did you offend me, but it triggered and I wanted to share that experience.
Yes, and thank you for sharing that. I think it's very important.
I want to believe that other people are triggered by the same thing, because we are living into a gender binary world, unfortunately, still.
But we are changing that.
Changing now. It's changing now. Yes. So I called. I didn't see my mom face to face. She knew something was up, and I felt so out of touch with my dad knowing and mom not knowing. I called her and I said, I believe you've known this for a long time, and this is the truth, and I am a lesbian. And she just listened, and she's like, I'm gonna have to process this. And just as I thought she would, kind of had a meltdown, just a quiet one. You know, she's not really a chaotic screamer, just a quiet meltdown, and she said, I have to go. But we were talking like the very next day. We're very close, and she was meeting my first girlfriend not long after that. And, you know, just kind of, they did their best to step up with it. And I'm, by that time, finding my way and the age that I was and waited to be and just who I am. I just was like, you can step with me or there's just no other way. And I'm not going to be scared of this. I've lived in fear too long, and I was just finding so much about myself and truly shedding a shell. So
I heard when you said that a year ago or so on the stage.
Yes.
Was so powerful, regardless that we are talking about something else.
Yeah, because I do see it like that. I feel like I so relate the idea of shield. So it's that shedding a shield, shedding a shell, and just keep crack-a-lacking to the real me. Yes. And my favorite shield is a physical shield. It's the one that I knew learning more about in my own self-development. But I learned so young, that was the shield that I could put around myself that was safest.
So powerful and so courageous to share that with us.
Thank you.
If you could, what you will be doing differently, if you could go back and talk with your younger version of yourself, what would you tell her?
I think that I would definitely tell her to not hide. I would look to, but Simona, even as I say that, there's a lot of blessing that I've had. Like, I wasn't kicked out. You're going to hear a different version from Melody of her experience. I wasn't kicked out. And even as I say that, that's because I kept myself secret until in my 20s. Right. And I didn't know. I didn't know because it wasn't I don't know how else to say it, because I don't believe, I believe I was born this way, but it just so wasn't a possibility because of the paradigm I was raised in the born again Christian faith.
Right. Is it safe to say that you didn't have the role models, like other people from LGBTQ community, just to let you know that it's nothing wrong with you and there is other people like you?
Yes, exactly.
We keep hearing that over and over again.
Yes, over and over.
I think language is the same as that. There are things in French or German or Italian or whatever that don't have a cognate to an English word, or that can't be described or explained in that certain way. They can try to be a color of them, but they're not the full meaning. And that's kind of how it is, I think, to be raised in a situation in which it's just not a possibility. It's like trying to explain something that there is no word for.
Right. I can't even imagine. I can't imagine how stressful and confusing it is for a child that also doesn't have the language.
Yeah, that's exactly. So for the Nicole now, talking to a younger preteen like myself, I would encourage to be themselves and to know themselves. And offer as many times as we come into contact with people searching or needing help. We're changing the world. Those young people are changing the world. And
yes, they do. And all we could do is to be there and give them some extra tools and encouragement to do change the world.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you so much, Nicole.
Absolutely.
And let's hear from Melody.
Well, I'll start with coming out. So our stories begin similarly because I was raised Pentecostal, which it is non-denominational,
born again.
I would say the Bible as not a story, but as real. Like every word is the fact, even if that's contradictory. So, questions from the time I was 3 or 5, not even about sexuality or anything, questions at all, were met with slaps. Punishments. I had a lot of questions in general. I just always have. I think I learned pretty early before I ever knew anything or had any questions about sexuality that there certain things just were not going to be okay to ask. And so I think that did keep me silent for longer than I would have been. I was very curious about why we valued the Holy Spirit, but we didn't believe in ghosts because it is one. So those kinds of things got me in a lot of trouble in general. So by the time I was 5 or 6, I was actually outed in a way by my best friend's parents. Who
early?
Yes, who said to her, "You can't hang out with Melody because she's a lesbian." I was 6.
Wow.
And I don't think they mentioned anything to my parents at that time, but I thought, what does it mean I'm gay? Because she said, well, we're not supposed to spend the night together anymore because you're gay. I thought...
Age of 6. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Oh, goodness.
My best friend and I had some experimentation of kissing or something, and they never saw that, but I guess they got from me, I think what they picked up on was a fluid gender, is that I did think that I was a boy for a part of my life. I really did think that maybe there had been a mistake. I didn't understand how I wasn't the sex that I identified with. I didn't understand how all of my friends were somehow different than me because I did congregate toward male friends, and things like that. And I did have crushes on girls, and maybe that's where I thought I was. It was all very young, but I was sort of told that I was gay.
What a little girl say to that? How did you react to that?
I didn't have much of a reaction to that because I thought, well, that's dumb. They don't even know, we haven't talked about that. I kind of dismissed it, but it did hurt because I wasn't as allowed into my friend's life.
Right.
And I thought that it was kind of a punishment of sorts that I didn't do anything wrong,
Yeah, I mean, what message did you send to a 6 years old when you tell her you're not allowed to play with my child?
Yeah.
I'm dangerous? Is something wrong with me?
Yeah, something is
that's the key.
A flaw, in me. And, my friend did come up with other friends like kids do. And I was jealous about all of that, but I didn't know it's because I was this thing they said. But I have this kind of uncanny knack of, I do have an ability to move on. And I did. So let's fast forward a little bit until I'm about 12 or 13. I definitely knew I was gay. Definitely.
What did you identify as at that age? I mean, given the fact that at some point you might thought that you're supposed to be a boy. So was it transgender on the table?
That kind of, for a while that went away because there was no narrative about gender. You were this thing or you were the other thing, and that was based on how you were born and what you came with.
Right.
It wasn't based on any kind of identification whatsoever or an internal feeling or anything. So it just kind of wasn't a topic for a long time. But as far as when I identified, when I knew I was lesbian, I was 12.
Okay.
And that is because I knew that some of my friendships, not all, were based on a feeling that I had that I already felt I wanted to identify with this person in a deeper way than friends. I didn't understand that I wanted to be physical. I definitely understood that I would lay down in traffic for them, that I was loving them in a different way, that I adored who they were, that I worshiped them. I wanted to be them. I wanted to, and I think that a lot of people would think that could also be a role model kind of thing if I were looking up to people older than me. But I did obsess on, how beautiful they were. I sometimes would wonder, can girls marry girls? Is it possible for girls to date girls? I would think those things, and then I would very quickly try to shove it out of my head because, of course, we'd already been taught very well that homosexuality ended in hell. And
right. So you didn't have role models as gay women in your life growing up either, right?
No.
But you have all those questions about what might be possible and if it's even possible.
Right. If I'd had somebody to ask, wow, what a difference would that have made? If somebody had been a role model. My uncle was gay, but he was very closeted, and he got fired from his job at a university as a professor of literature for being so.
Oh, my God.
And my grandparents went through his belongings and got rid of books that had anything to do with gay iconography or anything and burned them. And so there's another clue to me that there's an intolerance beyond distaste. There's an intolerance of hate in that. I will take what you own and I will burn it. You are not this thing, and I will make sure that you're not this thing. And, he was HIV positive as well, and they, of course, they called it the gay disease. I mean, everything, all of my life was about these horrible
experiences and evidences that you should not be what you are.
Exactly. We fast forward again. I got through all these, the crushes that I had, I tried to keep to myself. And I went into high school. I'm a singer, and I sang very well. I got a lot of attention for that. I did end up with a boyfriend in high school, a musician as well. And I did love who he was. I thought that he was a really amazing musician and really talented. But I had a real problem when it came to sexuality within that paradigm. And I fought for virginity. I made that in my mind as a result of how I believed.
Right.
Although part of it I knew was lack of interest, which proved itself sexually in that relationship, that I was in many ways not able to be active. Right. I wasn't interested. Absolutely. And so it really kind of impossible at times as we understand female anatomy. And there are certain things that help us along to be able to participate in penetrative sex. And then I wasn't able to do that. My body just wouldn't respond. So right. I kind of started understanding that something there was, but I thought wrong, spoiled, somehow wrong. And then I broke that off and went to college. And the very first person that I fell for, I told I was gay. But before that happened, I was outed again. I had a friend who, which often happens, who projected onto me that I was gay when she was the one insinuating physicality between the two of us. But because she was afraid to come out, she outed me in my college. Right. Suddenly I wake up and everyone knows I'm gay. Here we go again. Cool. Ever wanted to say it. I didn't know yet. I thought so. But I hadn't had a girlfriend. I mean, I hadn't had a physical experience. So how would I know? Mm-hmm. And so I kept kind of waiting for that to happen. And as it did begin to, you find your groups, and that'll bring me to what I say to people who are coming out now, and hopefully now don't have to. I found a group. A community is the most important thing in the entire world. Yeah.
That is what everybody's saying.
It doesn't matter what letter, LGBTQ, all of them, fluidity, but pre-transition. It doesn't matter. You have to find like mind too, and it's not being in a bubble to do so. You must surround yourself with support, because when and if what happened to me, which is that your family completely isolates you upon coming out, you must be prepared with friends. And so you must bolster that group and look for them. When I came out, I mean, of course I was outed, but when I did come out, I made that decision. I thought, it's just the second time in my life I've been told who I am. Nobody's ever going to tell me that again. And I came, Wreck-It Ralph out of the closet. Like, short hair, wearing boys' clothes. And then I also began to hang out at the student union and go to meetings and also canvass the neighborhoods and sit outside in the commons and ask people if they wanted to join. And I became very, 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 very active because I found my home. When I told my mother, she disowned me for 2 years, didn't speak to me at all, didn't want me to speak to my siblings who I helped raise. We have gotten somewhat past that due to what I call, or what I would term, like the never-ending, never-drained capacity of gay people to offer what they were never given. We turn the tables every time. It's because we were not shown compassion. I think that we have a tendency to show it, and we have a tendency to reach anyway. There's an ability to understand another person's story because we were not understood. We want people to feel what we weren't able to feel. Right. And I turned it back on my mother, and through many years of talking and fighting and crying, I finally said, I believe you when you say you're Christian, but I don't believe that Christ would behave anything like what you are behaving. And it really did hit her. She is a very different person now than she was 20 years ago, And I came out when I was 18 years old, and I'm about to be 47, so we're talking 30 years almost,
Of war, quote unquote.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about your father, Melody?
My father, when he was alive then, he isn't now, but he shocked me by actually saying he knew that he knew that. And although I felt from him a little skeeviness, I don't think he understood how to deal with what gay meant. I mean, if it wasn't okay for me, think what it wasn't okay for in their generation. I mean, I'm sure I can't even begin to understand how bad the word gay was when he was young. But he didn't mistreat me at all. He asked for my girlfriend to come and meet him. Opened his home there. It was quite surprising. He ended up passing soon after, but that was nice. So I did have some support there. I felt like I could say something. I do feel like he had a lot of making up to do because he was a terrible parent. But I think he wanted to be the good guy for a minute, and he was very good about that. But it was hell. I mean, it was just hell. Every which way I turned, I was being told who I was and who I wasn't. Wow. I mean, so it's like, well, then who does God say that I am? Okay, right. Well, if I go by my church, I'm already dead in the water. But if I go by my feeling of what is out there and the kind of love that is actually possible, then you don't get to tell me who I am. God loves me. That's it. I'm one of the favorites, in fact.
Yes. I start to believe that the gay people are capable of more love and compassion than the straight people. I mean, if I look through the lens of inclusion, homophobia is outside of the rainbow community.
I want more straight people
to become inclusive. It's where the problem is. There's nothing wrong with the gay people. They know who they are.
They're fine.
Yeah. We include everybody.
Yes, include everybody. And they don't point finger on you saying, oh, look at that man kissing that woman.
Yeah.
So there is work needed to be done, especially with us people outside of LGBTQ community. So we can open our hearts and be more loving and include everyone.
Yeah, never. Yeah.
And it extends to all differentness. I mean, it extends across. It's how can we provide for more people that are somehow on the outskirts of not just society, but even the homeless. So, like, let's say, who is being disenfranchised? Those are our friends.
Right. It's just another discrimination.
Yeah. I think there's a belligerence that comes up within that. And there's a certain point of what Nick had said. You're on board or you're not. Because I've already done the work. And I'm not going to work for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to work for me.
Yes.
And I'm live this life according to the way I love is actually very broad arms, and I don't want to change that about myself in order to fit into your small world. So I'm not going to do it.
Wow, so powerful. Please tell me that I could quote you on that.
Yeah.
Melody says, I don't need to change myself in order to fit into your small world. Whew.
Yeah.
I did the work and now you have to do your work.
Yeah.
I'm still here. I accepted myself. That is the greatest love there is. And I'll see you next time. And I hope.
Yeah.
All right.
Just something that came to my mind when you shared at 18, and then what is apparent to me, and I think maybe a bit universal here, is there is a second developmental stage for us that occurred. So now I'm going to discover who I've been hiding from my own self all those years.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to discover me.
Yes, I love that. It's like fully stepping into that new identity and fully be who you are being.
Yes.
I personally really enjoy seeing my son stepping into his identity, and it's so powerful to witness who he is becoming. And I have so much to learn. He is my teacher at so many levels and helps me to expand more and learn more and open my heart more. And I really want all the parents to experience this.
You're doing amazing work.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I love how you are
this.
seeing your heart expand and how you see it as such a gift, watching your son develop and grow and bring you along in the development. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you. And as we learn in coaching that the power is not in an answer, it's in the questions. My son have one question for me that was the seed for this podcast. When I encouraged him to come out to his friends, he said, Mom, did you come out as straight to your friends?
And I was like,
I have chills.
Good for him.
I'm like,
wow,
you're
that
right.
gets me in the chest.
Yeah.
That totally shifts my perspective.
Yep.
And now we are here in a mission that no one should come out ever.
Yes.
In the church I was raised in, they used to talk about this thing called being born again, right? That's when you're saved. And you do maybe a ceremony about it, and maybe you get dunked underwater, or whatever.
Yes, quite familiar from my own experience.
It's supposed to be a time in which you find yourself in a rebirth, right? And all of that I ever experienced in church could never stand up to the born again that happened when I came out. That was born again.
I can't imagine. If anything, I'm a little bit jealous that I don't get to have that experience. If anything.
But seriously, just becoming that person who you really are, not that you are not perfect before, but now you get to be a fully happy, perfect yourself.
Thank you, Mama.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you both for being here and willing to share your story and your experience with us.
Thank you for asking us.
I mean, talking about coming out, this is for the whole world to hear it. So you can't be out more than this.
Which feels good.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, I didn't expect at 47 to get another chance to say my story. I just, you start living your mundane life, and, the motley crew that you surround yourself with becomes just the norm. And it's like, you forget that you had for a minute, you forget.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
If anybody writes in after hearing it, send them our way, of course. If somebody truly did have questions, let us know, because that's a big opportunity to reach out directly, too.
Yes, and thank you so much for making yourself available for people that might want to contact you. So what would be the best way to do so?
This is Nicole, and I can be reached at wellnic, WELLNIC @gmail.com.
Okay.
And I'm Melody Moore, and I can be reached at melody with a Y, MELODY.moore, MOORE @yahoo.com.
Okay. Thank you so much, ladies.
And as we come to a closing, it's really hard to say goodbye. I really appreciate you both.
Thank you, Simona.
Thank you.
To be a part of this amazing work you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies.
Thanks, Simona.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Redefine Family, a Spark Transformation podcast. Feel free to share your story, know knowing that your story could change someone's life. We invite you to spread the love by sharing our message with others. And leave your comments at spark@redefinedfamily.com. Until next time, remember that you are the spark in your life. Just shine bright. Thank you for tuning in to Redefine Family, a Spark Transformation podcast. Feel free to share your story, knowing that your story could change someone's life. We invite you to spread the love by sharing our message with others. And leave your comments at spark@redefinedfamily.com. Until next time, remember that you are the spark in your life. Just shine bright.